My name is Mary Hughes Thompson, and I was born in England. And I left England when I was 19. I was born in England before the start of the Second World War. Lived there through the war and left in 1953. Went to Canada, stayed there for 8 years, and then came to California. And I've been here for I don't know how long, since 1961. So you figured out, almost 50 years. Yes, I didn't grow up an activist. I was born in the north of England in a predominantly Labour area, so we didn't much like Churchill or the Tories or those people, but I really wasn't active. But my life and my career in California was mostly in the television documentary business, and I did a lot of research, and I ended up as a documentary writer. So the first project I ever worked on for a man called David Wolper, who was very prominent in documentaries, was about the sign between Nasser and Ben Gurion. And that was the first time I ever really read anything about it, and it just stayed with me. And I was always aware of and not thrilled about the fact that the British people were the ones who actually were responsible for creating the State of Israel, which eventually I came to think was unfortunate. And then after I retired, I decided, I actually in 2001, when I started to become aware of what was going on in Palestine, I think the catalyst for me was seeing television coverage of that little boy in Gaza, Mohammed al-Dura, who actually, was killed while hiding with his father behind a cement post, and that was so shocking for me. I did find later that I moved to the Los Angeles Times, 20 years earlier, which actually I was surprised that I had done that, because obviously I was concerned at that time, but I had forgotten that, and I found a copy of a letter that I wrote. So anyway, in 2001, I started thinking I should go. If I'm going to keep talking about the situation there, I ought to go. So I started telling everybody I knew I want to go to Palestine, and I didn't know how to go. So the next thing was finding out how to get to Palestine, which was a lot more complicated and difficult than I thought. But I thought, I lived through a war. I know about wars, so that's okay. It's going to be no need to go and see what it's like. And that was when I started to become very active. Once I went to the West Bank in 2002, which was a very critical time there. It was when the Israelis stayed all of the major cities. There were curfews everywhere. There were tanks everywhere. I was in Nablus at a very, very terrible time there, where many people were killed. Everybody knew what was going on in Jenin at the same time. Jenin, of course, is not far from Nablus. I was in Nablus, and it was amazing. It was shocking to me to have tanks point their guns at me. I felt like I'm privileged. I'm an American. We pay for all this. How dare they do that? In Nablus was the first time in my life I ever saw a dead child. And I took pictures of little boys who'd been run down by tanks, little dead boys. I was also in Jerusalem, in Jerusalem, but I was in Bethlehem while the church was under siege. And I met people there who were a great inspiration to me. I would say the one person who was responsible more than any for making me go back was Huwaida Araf, who's an American Palestinian girl who is just amazing. She just totally inspires me to go back. And I did go back. I went back the same year to join the olive harvest. During that time, I was attacked in a little village, the village of Yanun. I was attacked in an olive grove by settlers from the Itamar settlement, illegal Jewish settlement. They beat me. They robbed me. They took everything I had away from me, and I was left with no money, no passport, no ticket, no credit cards, no driver's license, no jacket, no camera, of course, no money. And that was quite a shock to me, to see young men who could have been my grandsons, probably from Brooklyn, who had absolutely no regard for anybody. It seemed to me it wasn't Jewish. I went back after that several more times, and each time was more difficult to get back. And so in around 2006, late 2006, a group of us who were active, who had problems getting back, some of us had been deported, some of us have been imprisoned, some of us have been denied entry, and we were always trying to think of a way that we could get back. And we formed a small group. There was a group of 5 of us initially, 4 women and a man, 2 women in England, myself and Greta Berlin, who's an American now living in France, and a man who lives in Northern California, who's no longer part of the Free Gaza movement. But the 5 of us started writing to everybody that we knew individually, and people we knew who had been kicked out or denied entry. And we said, there must be some way we can get back. And one of our group lives in Australia, a young man named Michael Sheikh, and he had been arrested at Ben Gurion Airport, thrown in jail, and shipped back to Australia with nobody even knowing that he was in Palestine, in Israel. And he said, why don't we just sail a boat? Let's sail a boat from New York. And we thought, well, that's really crazy, you know, and what do we know about boats? But we talked about it, and we thought, you know, hey, you know, it's the only way that we could think of that we could go to any part of Palestine without having to go through an Israeli checkpoint, was to go by sea. And so we just started to raise money. We had anything we could do to raise money. We begged and groveled, and we, you know, people had bake sales, and the initial response from most people was, you're crazy. And, you know, we said, yeah, we're crazy, but, you know, wouldn't it be great if it worked? And so we just started to get small amounts of money, and it took us a year longer than we had anticipated. But by the spring of 2008, we felt that maybe we really can actually buy a boat. And we just got people wanting to volunteer, to work with us, to help us, to go on the boats. And so eventually, by spring of 2008, we felt that we had enough money to buy a boat. We had friends in Greece. We had friends in Cyprus. We decided that Cyprus was the logical place for us to sail from. It's the closest place we could go to. We didn't know what we were doing. We found that, first of all, you know, first we thought we would lease a boat, and then we found out nobody's going to lease you a boat to try to get through the Israeli Navy. We had to find a place to sail from that was not politically hostile to Israel, so that they couldn't say that, you know, we were anything but peace activists. So Cyprus was the closest place that we could go to. So in June of 2008, 50 of us or so converged on Cyprus,